Throughout the years, whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same. Decades pass, now we rise anew. Rovers fans, this pod is for you. We won the cup, we ruled the league. A grand final win made us all believe. The world took note with wristbands fall. The Robins superb, now we won it all. Red Army, let's hear you sing with all your might. For your world champions in the red and white. We are okay, and we are the champions of the world.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Robin Pod, which is of course brought to you by Budget Tyres Autocentre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of the world famous Hull Kingston Rovers. Joining me once again for the Robin Pod is Bazza Kingston. I'm delighted to have him back on, and we're going to kick off with that Rovers victory over Bradford before Steve Till joins us once again for Robin's Revisited. We'll preview the upcoming encounter against the Castleford Tigers and finish once again with your questions during question time. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you like and subscribe and get involved in the comments because I am going to pose you a question now before I introduce Bazza. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Bazza. Welcome to the Robin Pod. Now, Bazza's not going to tell you how old he is, and neither am I, but please get involved in the comment section and let us know how old you think Bazza is. Okay? Welcome to the Robin Pod, Bazza.
Cheers, Johno. You're an absolute bellend for that, mate. I dare say I'm going to get some shit in the comments now, but it's all good banter, mate. It's all good sport. I got a bit of shit off you yesterday, mate, but we'll take it.
Mate, genuinely, we have got the kindest listeners, viewers around, so I'm sure that everybody will be very, very keen to tell you how old they think you are, and I'm sure they'll be very generous with that. Bazza, let's look back to that victory over Bradford, 40 points to 16 points to 10 at half-time. What was your overall feelings walking away from Sul Group Craven Park after that game?
Pretty much what I felt most of the year, mate. A little bit clunky, a little bit fragile in places. Pleased that we've got the job done. You know that's always a massive. It keeps us in that top six, which is a delight. I think walking away, I said to my partner, what I'm concerned about is the way we conceded some tries. You know, Rovers of old. I'm not even talking Rovers of 25. I'm talking pre-25 would not have conceded them. So I don't want to be too negative on the boys because they've got the job done, but I feel like there's some really soft tries going in against us at the moment, you know, against Bradford and previous before that. But for me, when you look at who we've got missing in the likes of Arthur Morgan, Mikey Lewis, Jesse So, I thought we did all right and, you know, a real shining light in that game. For me personally, you may disagree, but with Ryan Hampshire, I feel like he's really, really taking his chances, you know. The lad didn't have a club. The lad couldn't get a club, but, you know, he's a proven winner. And wherever he's filled in for us, albeit full back or in the halves, he's done a decent job, mate. And I thought he did a real good job on that left edge in place of Mikey Lewis. And you talk about 1%ers. I know Connor Wynn ended up scoring the try, but the way Ryan Hampshire did not give up Connor Wynn to try and get back and make that tackle, that just shows the attitude and determination. It was quite pleasing to see, if I'm honest, mate. But no, I walked away from the game. I was happy. It was job done. Lots to work on, lots to build on. And while we keep getting these wins by not playing at 100%, mate, it's pretty cliche, but it's a sign of a championship winning side because last year we won a lot of games last year by not playing at our best. And if we could just keep ticking over and, you know, save our best till last, then I'll be happy with that, mate.
Yeah, and I concur with you, Bazza. I mean, I think they're starting to click into gear in attack. You know, some of the scores that were we are putting away, great tries. We're seeing a real fluid attack. I think he was right, Ryan Hampshire. He was fantastic. We saw Tyrone May as well. Going back to Ryan Hampshire as well, Bazza, I think Willie Peters was pretty smart, wasn't he, how he put to bed the Jack Charles talk about, every time, particularly around Mikey Lewis getting his suspension, the talk is, well, why ain't Jack Charles filling in there? And I think he put it to bed, didn't he, by saying, well, actually, he's a right edge player, so if he's going to play, it's when Tyrone May, if he gets injured or suspended. And I think that's where he was smart there to just put it to bed, because no doubt it then took a little bit of pressure off Ryan Hampshire, I think, because then people knew the thoughts of the manager and the coach and what he was going to be doing. And also what Hampshire benefited from was the early call to be told he was probably playing. So it gave him the chance to go through the plays like they always do. Obviously, the captain's run, and it probably just helped him. And he looked comfortable out on the field. He looked very assured. We saw him come up with that fantastic pass for Joe Burgess' try. Obviously, we saw him slot away 3 conversions. And he looked very assured on the pitch. I don't think he was the flashiest, but we probably didn't need that. We didn't need that. We just needed a solid halfback to play in there, and that's what we got from Ryan Hampshire.
Yeah, we did, and you don't want to be going for these miracle plays, what end up costing you games. We are going to need a bit more flair when we come up against stronger opposition, and that's no disrespect to Bradford, but I think there was a contradiction in what you said there. What Willie Peters said, because he likes to have a left-footed kicker on the left side, i.e. Mikey Lewis, right-footed on the right side, Tyrone May. Ryan Hampshire was a right-footed kicker, and I think you noticed that in spells in that game. Again, there's a lot of rumours flying about with regards to Jack Charles and why he can't play, but ultimately, I think Tyrone May paid great respect to Jack Charles, that he is one for the future and he is the long-term successor for Hull KR. So maybe that's the difference between Hull KR and Hull FC is we're not throwing him in and burning him out and knocking his confidence. We're easing him in. And if you want to rewind to Corey Hall, Willie Peters had that same attitude with Corey Hall, just easing him in. And obviously, it didn't fit our bill for Hull KR, and he moved on to Wakefield. But we're seeing the sort of player Corey Hall is now. So I do believe there is going to be good progression there with Jack Charles. I don't know. Maybe fans are just too keen to see him, and maybe he just ain't good enough yet. And they're being honest. And I want our teammate, I'm part of that fan group who can't wait to see him. But I think he will get his time. His time will come, mate. And I'd like to think that it will be one for the future for Rovers. But overall, mate, Ryan Hampshire, you can't knock the kid. He tackled hard. He run hard. He wasn't scared to run the ball in the line. And I think a couple of times, not so much Ryan, but on that left edge, I thought Ollie Gildart overplayed a couple of times when he didn't need to. But I think what Willie Peters is asking for is just get back to basics, go set for set, get in the ground, and the rest will take care of itself. And if we just keep it a little bit basic while we've got our key players out, I do believe we have got, we saw against Bradford, we've got enough to get over the line.
Yeah, and going back to Jack Charles, he's not the first player that's come from over the river from that lot where Willie Peters has said they need a good pre-season. He's said that Jack Charles needs another pre-season under the Robins to really get himself into contention for a starting berth. And we've heard that before, haven't we? So, look, there's a plan. I don't mind that. There's a plan. As long as the player knows what the plan is, the club are building to something with him. So let's see where that pans out because, I'm with you, Bazza. Lots of people want to see him play for the Robins and there's no doubt I do think he will get his chance in the future. You mentioned the fact that Arthur Morg, Jesse Sue, Mikey Lewis were missing. It was still a very, very strong lineup, wasn't it? When you look at some of the players who've also took their opportunity. So we had Reece Martin, who was coming back into the side. We also seen Jordan Desiree. Now, we're going to talk a bit more about the game in general very shortly. But Desiree, for me, seems to be having more an impact than Sam Luckley is at the moment. And for me, he's maybe over I think he's 10 games consecutive he's played for the Robins now. And he seems to have overtaken him in terms of his influence and importance to the side.
Yeah, I agree with that to an extent. Sam's a big character amongst the group, and we see Sam talking a lot in the huddle, but before the game and whatnot. But for Jordan Desiree, one thing I did notice, I don't feel like it didn't feel like he was on the field that long last Friday night. But when he was on there, you noticed him. So whether that's the club managing his minutes, I don't know, but we are certainly seeing an impact, and we're seeing that. It's going to sound ridiculous comparing it to Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, but you see when Jordan has the ball and he's running it in, he's attracting 3 or 4 defenders, which is creating space. But yeah, on the flip side, Sam Luckley, he's got a great offload game, and we aren't quite seeing that yet with Jordan Desiree. But I do agree with you. There is a good impact there, and I would like to see him do slightly more minutes. But I think Willie's getting the balance right at the moment in respect to Tom Amon and not burning out Tom Amon, because he's got one hell of an engine on him, but he's managing Tom Amon's minutes with regards to how long he's on the field and who he spells him with, so be it Sam Luckley or Jordan Desiree. So for me, the way it's being managed at the minute, we're seeing the better version of Jordan, and we're seeing the better version of Tom Amon as well, because Tom is awesome for us. He's the best middle we've got this year, and for me, he's never let us down. So Jordan should, for me, do some more minutes, but again, I'm not the coach. We don't know his fitness levels. We don't know if he's carrying or not, but all I know is when he puts that jersey on for us, he's giving 110%, and that's all you want from your middles, and he's making a fairly decent impact for us.
Yeah, you mentioned middles. Dean Hadley, he got the starting berth in the prop forward position alongside Tom Amon. Are we too reliant on Dean Hadley? Because he got big raps again, didn't he, from Willie Peters? And Willie Peters once again talked up his impact. And hey, look, he hasn't talked up his impact. He's said what he's seen, and there's no doubt whatsoever Dean Hadley is when he's on the pitch, Hull Kingston Rovers are a much better side. Is that a worry, though, that we are so reliant on him? Because we've seen when he hasn't played, it does impact us.
Well, this is what I was going to say about how we're spelling Tom Amon, and we're getting a better version of Tom Amon because we're not burning him out. This is the concern about Dean Hadley. His natural position is second row, but he's very comfortable at prop, and he's doing a full 80. And if he did have that hamstring pull against a lesser side like Bradford, you'd feel like rotation would be a bit better. And that is the concern of me, like you've just said, that we're relying on him too much, and are we asking too much of him? We could afford to spell him for 10 minutes, just give him that breather, just to not burn him out. But another thing I did notice was it deserves massive raps was Elliot Minchella, because he's come up in for a little bit of criticism this year. And I thought when we started against Bradford, the first half an hour, we was solid and very assertive down the middle. Minnie come off after about half an hour, and we actually noticed it, not having Minnie on the field. But when he did come back on, again, we was a totally different side. So that's massive raps to Elliot Minchella, because it just shows the impact he's having, and the way he's getting spelled. We are seeing we are a lot better for it. I just think that we need to do that a little bit more with Dean Hadley. So, just for the longevity of the season.
Yeah, and you're right about Elliot Minchella. I mean, he scored the final try of the game, didn't he, for the Robins? And he looks I don't know, he looks a little bit happier, I feel. He looks like he seems to be enjoying his rugby and his impact he's having. And I think what's been key to that, though, as well, has been Carl Lawton. And the fact that when Carl Lawton's been able to spell Minchella, that Carl Lawton's coming on and having an impact. And that's as much as, you miss a couple of players and it shouldn't really impact your side. For me, it's becoming evident that the rotations, from the interchange, is really important for Rovers. If we get that wrong, the team really struggle. And we've seen that, and now we're starting to get back to the tried and tested. Out that forward pack, there was only Salso missing, so we could cover that, especially against Bradford. And let's be honest, mate. I mean, that Bradford side, they were down to the bare bones, and I want to give great credit to them, because what they did is, especially in that first half, was capitalise on the opportunities that we presented them with, and going in at 16-10 at half time, never did I feel like the result would be in doubt. But Rovers didn't cover themselves in glory necessarily. Some of the errors that those unforced errors that they was coming up with, some of the missed tackles, we played right into their hands, and there was no bigger mistake than Jack Broadbent's, was there? It seemed such a simple play, and I don't know why Hiku didn't just dive on it. I think he was trying to be a bit too clever by grounding the ball. But Armitage, he just picked up, went, see you later, try, and referee, there you go. And I think that's where we're still trying to be a bit too smart rather than just go through the basics, get it. And I think Willie Peters alluded to that as well, because he did say after the game, as much as he was happy about the 2 points, he wasn't necessarily happy about the performance, because he did say that there was a lot of room to improve.
And that's it. While you're always wanting to improve, there's always something to work for. And I think I said that at the start of the pod. I was very disappointed with the way they scored their tries. Like you've just said, the Armitage one. It's schoolboy errors, and these are treble, quadruple winning players making these errors, and it was a shame to see. Maybe it was just a bit of a freak accident. Jack's got to be better there. Petter's got to be better there. But with respect to Jack, he made up for it, in that second half. So it was unfortunate. I feel like Connor Wynn, that try, great try, take nothing away from Connor Wynn. But when you're going from an attacking kick in there, 15, 20 metre, for him to catch the ball and go the full length of the field, questions have got to be asked about.
Well, I don't think they afforded Burgess any protection there, did they? For him to get it wrong, as soon as he got that side, I think Sam Luckley was the next player he had to challenge. And obviously, someone like Connor Wynn's going to go around Luckley, even with the best effort in the world, he's going to go past him. And like you mentioned previously, Ryan Hampshire, to his great credit, did cover a lot of space to get back and try and make an attempt at tackling him. But it's always in favour of the attacker there, isn't it? And I don't think we did a good enough effort in terms of protecting that defensive line once the kick had gone. Now, if Burgess claims that, fine, but you're always playing for that what if, I think. And that's what the Rovers have been really good at in the past, is that they've secured them areas. They've not took a gamble, and as good as a try it was for Wynn, I thought for us it wasn't a great effort whatsoever. It was frustrating.
Yeah, it was frustrating. And like I say, it's them 1%ers what you want out on the field, and the way Ryan Hampshire just never give it up to try and prevent that try. We've got to be better. We've got to be smarter, and we've got to be more committed. I did feel in that game. Again, you know me, I don't like really bagging on players, but I thought Ollie Gildart was rocks and diamonds in that game. Felt a couple of times he tried to overplay, and he had errors in him, and which for me, as a fan, was quite concerning, because we know Ollie's better than that. And it goes back to basics. That the way we are right now, we don't need to be overplaying. We don't need to be forcing that play. And I felt like Ollie was just overplaying too many times, and we saw a couple of errors with ball in hand on that left edge on second and third tackle. We didn't need to. We just needed to keep building pressure. But where I want to flip it for Ollie, I thought he was great in defence. He tackled really hard. He made some really, really good one-on-one tackles. And I think he set up, I think it was Jez Litton's try, which again was a great break. I mean, Ollie could have gone for glory, but he did pass to Jez, and, Jez went in under the sticks. I just feel like certain players just need to calm it down and not panic. And we're seeing now and again, we're trying to force it and panic. For me, we've got to earn the right to play like that. And our club completion rate, mate, is at 64%. It's not good enough. Missed tackles, a lot of missed tackles. Now, you can forgive the completion rate if we're being expansive and trying new things, which I felt like in that second half we did, because we did earn the right to throw the ball about a bit more. But the missed tackles for me are still quite concerning, and we do need to be better on that.
The only thing I'd say completion rate, Bazza, was particularly around the tries. If you look at the tackles that when the tries were scored, what the tackle count was. We do, when we put up a decent score, we do seem to score from third and fourth, tries. Now, I mean, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 tries, isn't it? But for me, completion rate's a funny one sometimes, isn't it? Completion rate for me is important when you're in the grand final and you're in the arm wrestle and you want to see out your sets and you're keeping it, like we've seen, you've got to keep it tight. You want to see out your set of 6 because the opposition are going to come straight back at you. But that said, Bradford did, they had I think they was in the 80s, I think, off the top of my head.
It's not that low, John. I think we had 11 or 12 unforced errors,
Well, I'm going to come on to that. It's not
good enough.
I say what, before we go on to that, let's talk about some of the positives, because of the 7 tries we scored, there was some very, very special tries within that. I'm going to kick off with Tyrone Mays. I've never seen someone travel that amount of distance so slowly and get a try. It was absolutely unbelievable. It's like he had a force field around him, and the way he shrugged off the first defender to get the gap out onto the wing, and he was looking for the pass, and he just kept going and he kept going, and then I think he thought, I could go here, and then he sort of he turned on a little bit of pace there. Absolutely wonderful try. I'd be surprised. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of rugby league left to play this season, but right now, that is for me maybe the try of the season so far.
I agree wholeheartedly. I thought the way he took it, I think even Tyrone, in that sequence of events leading up to that try, I think he was quite surprised how we got through, and he was just jinking his way through. I mean, I said to Carl from 2 Yorkshire Bros, I said, watching Tyrone, the way he scored that try, I felt like he was just playing the game how he wanted to play it at his pace, and everyone just had to do what Tyrone wanted to do, and it was a bit of a freak try, and you can say it was only against Bradford, but for me, it still needed scoring, and to have that vision, like, it was just his natural instincts. Like, he didn't panic. He could have just tried to dive for the corner, but it just stepped inside and made a Bradford player, I don't know if it was Aiken, look silly. Yeah, it was a quality try, and I didn't see it as well as your boys in the East End because I was in the well, but it was one of them where I don't know how we did it. I had to watch it back 2 or 3 times on the big screen, and I'm like, fair play, lad, that was class.
And to be fair, they're the special ones because the tries where you want to watch it again and again, and you're trying to work out how's he done it, what's it, and let's to be fair, he's somehow he's got a magic ability just to slow down the game, and just the Bradford players were so scared of whether he offloaded it or not, but in the end he didn't need to, because that indecision from the defenders just gave him that space to move into, and the way he moved down the line, and it's just rewards. And for Tyrone May, he's an exceptional player. I think the more he plays for the Robins, especially, the more we're going to lose him, because I think it's pretty nailed on, isn't it? That he's going to be going. He's going to be a special talent. I can understand why some Rovers supporters sometimes questioned his contribution. I think he's absolutely now gone out there over the last 2 seasons and put all that to bed to show what a great contribution he's got to the side. And him scoring a try like that was well deserved. I like the little try from Davis as well, the little offload from Petiku. Very smart play. But it was the running tries, wasn't it? We saw the great pass from Dean Hadley to Jack Broadbent for him to go in. And that's where I feel like attacking wise, we seem to have stepped up a gear over the last few weeks. Probably the last 3 weeks, we seem to really now got our act together. While we might be still faltering a little bit in defence, I'm a lot more confident in our attack now.
Yeah, as am I, and I feel like that's a confidence thing. I feel like they are building in confidence, and you could argue they're starting to trust one another a bit more in the players. There's still some frailties there, don't get me wrong, but we are looking a bit more astute in attack. And with Hampshire in the halves, if he keeps building again, he's probably got another 2 cracks at it over the next 2 weeks. For me, if he's on top form and we're winning very handsomely, I feel like Mikey's got to earn that trust and earn that jersey back, that place back in that side, because this is what we want. We don't want people thinking, they're entitled to that position. And this is a time for Mikey to step up and really regain his trust in the boys. But if we carry on winning and winning well, you're not going to want to change so much. I'm confident going forward. I think the only reservations I have slightly is our defence. We need to sharpen up a little bit in areas of our defence. But in attack, we're starting to score them really easy on the eye tries, and we saw a lot of that last year. So if we can just keep building on that, keep it basic, and the boys have got the talent and they've got the class to finish off some great players to score a try. It will come. They just don't need to force it, in my opinion.
No, and it's worth pointing out, isn't it? Of course, two of our biggest attacking threats, Arthur Morgan, Mikey Lewis, one on the pitch. So it's great credit to the boys who did step up. One player I do want to single out before we move on. For me, if I was to call player of the season right now, for me, it'd be very hard to look beyond Tom Davis. He's made the most carries in Super League, and not only that, he's second in Super League for metres made, and he averages 165 metres a game. And when he adds tries to that, he is, for me, one of the best players. And he went through that little bit of a drought, didn't he? Where I think, was it 5 games in a row? Well, he's coming back with tries, but we've spoke famously on the Robin Pod before. How would we ever replace Ryan Hall? Well, I think we've got a much improved version, and that's no slight, because when Ryan Hall was here, he did the job that we needed to, and he excelled in it. But to pick up from there, and not only pick up from there, and he's got better for me, Tom Davis. He gets better every time he plays, and he's an absolute workhorse. He looks like someone who just loves his job. He loves his work. He loves doing what he needs to do. He looks in a supreme physical condition. He keeps going. He's a proper engine, isn't he? And to give you that many meters, guaranteed meters every game, is exceptional. And like I said, I dare say, who knows what will happen come the end of the season. But for me right now, Tom Davis is probably the most consistent. And I don't want to say most important player, but he sets us off to such a start in the game, start of the set, doesn't he? With his energy, his enthusiasm, his power. And yeah, I don't want to say I'm in love with Tom Davis, but I like him a lot.
No, mate, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Like, it does the ugly stuff that a lot of people don't want to do, and sometimes them first carries can be the toughest carries, and he's always putting his hand up to get involved. And I think the way I can describe Tom Davis is probably the most honest player out on that field. He don't play for a penalty; he just runs hard, drives hard. He takes quite a lot of shots around the chops, but he gets up and gets on with it. If he gets a penalty on the back of it, he gets a penalty, but he's just such an honest, hard-working winger, which I don't think gets valued much in our game. And the graph that he goes through, we went through a phase of, we could see it as Rovers fans, what Dean Adley did for us, but the rest of the Super League couldn't see it. I think we're starting to see that with Tom, the underrated, unsung hero in Tom Davis, and what he gets through, and even his defence, mate, his defence is quality, and is a big out body, really. And yeah, is another massive player for us. And I feel more, put it this way, I feel more secure out on that right edge than I do our left edge right now, if that makes sense. Like, I trust the right edge a bit more than the left edge. I think our right edge is very good.
Yeah, no doubt whatsoever. Joe Burgess, 200th try. Congratulations to him. I think ultimately, when the Robins scored 18 unanswered points in the second half, that's what really put the game to bed. And although it was a valiant effort by Bradford, you can't lie, the Robins did show their quality then, didn't they? One player who definitely showed his quality, and someone who seems to be really getting the bit between his teeth right now, is Jez Litton. Man of the match again for the Robins. 31 tackles, 11 carries, 117 metres, average gain of 11, let alone his kicks in general play, his dummy runs. He has stepped up a gear, because I didn't think his form was great. Maybe 4 weeks, when you look back to where he was. But I think over the good few last weeks, he has really stepped it up now.
Yeah, he has. I mean, I think for Jez, the worst game he's played for us this year, and probably in a lot of years, was in that game against Warrington away. I felt like he was a passenger in that game, and we know how good Jez is, and I think that was the game potentially he needed, because since then it was immense against Hull FC, and he backed it up against Bradford. And without Mikey in the side, he took a really good leadership role, controlling the kicks and taking over kicking duties on that left edge, making himself available, kicking out a dummy half. And he's just all eyes up rugby, getting us downfield when we need it most. And he's showing that form where people was doubting if he should be in the England lineup come the end of the year. And I think the last 2 games he's rediscovered the form, what put him in contention for that England jersey, mate. And he's really stepped up in the absence of Mikey, and that just shows what a true great leader Jez is in our side.
Yeah, no doubt whatsoever. Well, retro round certainly proved to be very enjoyable with the amount of points that the Robins scored. And also we saw Dr. Jive again, which was very good. I'm sure there's lots of people of a younger generation might have thought, what the hell is going on right now when he comes on? But I'll tell you what, for people of an older generation, it was warmly received. Before we talk about the Castleford game, of course, answer your question during question time. And Bazza, I'm going to bring you some interesting stats which might tell the tale of why we are where we are right now in the league table. Steve Till joined us once again for Robins Revisited.
Hi Chris, hope you're well. Before I go into Robins Revisited, I just want to make a comment that I've seen made on social media recently about the drop in atmosphere at Craven Park. Yeah, we've scored tries and the crowd have lit up, and before the matches there's been quite a bit of singing, the usual stuff, but during the games things have gone quiet a little bit, and I just wonder why. Perhaps the standard of play has dropped a little bit compared to last season, and we're in a more difficult situation than we were last season, although I don't think things are that bad that we can't, with a bit of luck, improve our position. We're definitely a top 4 team as far as I'm concerned. We might not get the top 2 now, but we're definitely a top 4 team. So things could be worse. But I'm just thinking about the atmosphere, and in today's Robins Revisited, I'm going to go back to the days when, the atmosphere was pretty tough. I'm going to go back to 2002 when we played Rochdale Hornets on August the 4th, so it's this week in 2002. And the crowd that day at Craven Park was 1,502. It was a match in the Northern Ford Premiership back in those dark days. Yeah, and Rovers were behind at half-time. They'd managed to try from Nick Pinkney, the winger, now a rugby league commentator on Radio Humberside. So they managed that try, and they managed a drop goal as well from Mark Kane. But Rochdale had led 8-5 due to a Joe Berry first half try converted by Warren Ayres, and Warren Ayres also kicked a penalty. So we went in for the half-time break at 8 points to 5, and we came out and we were up against it a little bit. Rochdale increased the lead to 12-5 with a Matt Callan try. But Rovers, who incidentally had John Wilkin playing for them, it was his only season at Craven Park. He played 38 games for Rovers, and he was loose forward on the day. But there was no second half tries from Rovers. There was a couple of penalties, 3 penalties in fact, from Dane Doherty, the son of old favourite John Doherty. But then we had to rely on drop goals for the remainder of the game. And again, it was Dane Doherty who put one over, and Alex Godfrey put the winning one over, because Rovers, having been 8-5 down at half-time, won the match by 13 points to 12. It was a tough game against a side that was coached by a guy called Martin Hull, who was later to come to Rovers as coach and joint coach for a while with none other than Mal Reilly. But when you think about the atmosphere nowadays, it's massively enhanced by our success, and let's hope we can continue against Castleford on Friday and then a few home games.
A massive thanks to Steve Till for Robins Revisited once again. Lots of memories to look back on. And one of the questions in question time is related to the atmosphere at Craven Park. So we'll tackle that later on. Before we talk about Castleford up on Friday night, Bazza. Now, I've been looking at some stats and to see where we compare against other sides in the league, and to see where we compare, and maybe why the reason we are where we are in the table. Of course, that victory over Bradford put us into 5th place at the end of this weekend's Super League. We are now 8 points behind Leeds, 6 points behind Wakefield and Wigan, and of course 2 points behind Wolves, of course. So we've got that game in hand, which is ever going to be so important when we go through that really tough run of fixtures. But as we said about Tom Davis being so good in terms of meters and the average gain and his carries, what I found was interesting is that at the moment in our side is the player who's made the most errors across the whole of Super League, Joe Burgess with 33. And then we had Jack Broadbent 4th with 28 errors. And then I looked at the most missed tackles, and we've also got a player who's made the most missed tackles in Super League with Mikey Lewis, 89. Surprisingly, Pet Hiku was 4th with 78, whilst also captain Elliot Minchella was 7th with 71 missed tackles. Only Bradford, newly promoted Bradford, have made more errors this season than us. We're joint 2nd and 3rd with St Helens. Bradford have made 231 errors. We're on joint with Saints on 227. And we're 2nd in Super League for missed tackles. Only Catalan have made have missed more tackles than us, 768, and Rovers 743. So if you bring it back to the Bradford game, Bazza, and you look at them stats, and you look at how we performed, particularly more so in that first half, it sort of rings true, where we're coming up with errors and missed tackles that are ultimately, for me, costing us.
Yeah, they are. And, you know, don't get me wrong, stats don't always tell the full story, but that is quite alarming when you see the teams around us. We can see how much St Helens is struggling this season. And, you know, they're right up there with the amount of errors, same as us. So I think the only positive that we can take from that is we're in a decent spot, you know, in 5th at the moment. We've still got a lot to play for. We've still got players coming back, but there's still a lot to work on. And for me, a lot of them missed tackles will come in games like Vegas, and we should put Vegas to bed, but the games like that's not going to help the stats with regards to errors, missed tackles. So it's disheartening, it's alarming. It's certainly not a statistic where you're going to win a championship on. So we've got 6 games left to rectify some of that and hopefully do the unthinkable. And we're not giving up on anything. We've just got a lot to work on, but it'll make an interesting debrief at the end of the season of what's got wrong, what areas need improving on. What makes me laugh is Ian Watson. When he signed for us, a lot of people said he's really, really meticulous with his numbers and he wants things right. Well, if he's that meticulous with his numbers, the numbers aren't looking great right now. So not only Ian, but the whole coaching staff have got a lot to work on with the boys and with tackling techniques. But when I go back to like missed tackles, don't always tell a full story. A prop running full blown at a defender and a defender stops him there and bounces off him. He stopped that play, but that's classed as a missed tackle. So it doesn't always tell a full story. But with regards to the errors, mate, for me, it's quite simply not good enough. The standards that we've set, and we need to improve that drastically. It leading into the last 6 or 7 games or whatever it is. I'm not too concerned just yet. We've got this block of fixtures coming up. We need to start ticking them off one by one, and if it means winning ugly, and as long as we're finishing that playoffs, Willie Peters has never finished below 4th, so I think that should be the minimum target, 4th place for that home fixture. And hopefully by then, if we're in 4th, 3rd or wherever, and we get that home tie, all them stats mean nothing if we put in a couple of polished performances in them knockout games, mate. But right now, it's not a great look, and it does back up the argument of the sort of season we've had so far.
No, and to me, Bazza, though, what it does do is present an opportunity in terms of, look where we are in the table. We're not where we want to be, but we've still got a tremendous opportunity, to force ourselves into that top 4, potentially top 2. Don't forget, we've got to play Wigan, we've got to play Warrington. We've got an opportunity there, haven't we, to push ourselves in there. So if we write these things, if we stop missing the tackles, if we stop making the errors, we've got a tremendous opportunity. And that's why I wanted to highlight it, that it's, on paper, you're right, Bazza, stats only tell part of the story, but it does pretty much back up what a lot of people will be feeling or seeing on the terraces, because, we have seen these uncharacteristic, errors coming into the game. We have seen missed tackles, but what a great opportunity. And we go into this game against Castleford, albeit an absolutely basket case Castleford. We've got no idea what they're going to come up with on Friday night, have we? We've seen them put Wigan and Leigh to the sword. We've also seen that bag of shit from across the river put 50 past them. So I've got no idea what you're going to get from this Castleford side. All I would say is, if you keep listening to Ryan Carr's after-match press conferences, he don't look to be able to get a tune out with these players that so many times, and I can't imagine it being a very happy camp right now. Based on who you might be and where they know that they've got a number of players leaving come the end of the season, and obviously they're not happy. We saw for the first time as well against Warrington, we started to see the fans looking a bit unhappy as well. So it's not a happy camp, and for me, Baz, it presents a great opportunity for the Robins to take them 2 points away and go back down the M62. But like we showed against Bradford, if you cough up ball too many times and you miss too many tackles, you're going to present an opportunity.
Yeah, and that's the worrying thing. If they get their noses in front and they get the tails up, we haven't shown enough where we respond well to that adversity. Granted, we did against that lot across the river, but I think with Castleford this year, I think everybody said it, including myself, that at least they're consistently inconsistent, and you just don't know what side's going to turn up. I know Gary's going to be missing for him, which, I'm sure Budgie will be grateful for that, because he's a big old boy, he's Gary. Yeah, I don't know what to expect. Looking at it, we should be winning on Friday, but as you know, we're being a Rovers fan this year. Well, in typical Rovers fan fashion, it's a roller coaster, isn't it? It's up and down, but we can't take it for granted. We're going to have to treat this like a final, and we're really going to have to go for it. And it's going to be a hostile atmosphere on Friday at the Wombo. It really is, and our boys just need to keep calm and composed, and let the rugby do the talking, because we've seen Castleford time and time again. We saw it against Warrington. They got ahead, and in that second half, they just imploded. They just imploded and give the game away to Warrington. So I think if we just put enough pressure on early on against Castleford, silence the crowd, and the game will take care of itself, because they're a weird side this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if Castleford put in a well-did performance against us like they did Leeds 3 or 4 weeks ago and do the unthinkable. But I don't think we've got too much in our camp to get over the line against Castleford. But at the same time, we need to get off that bus knowing we're going to have to win this game, that the game's not a given, and not to take anything for granted.
Yeah, and there's no doubt, is there, if the Robins can get off to a good start and put some points on the board, what the Castleford fans have seen previously, I do feel like it could become quite hostile, because there'll be big frustration. That said, if they get to a good start and they manage to put a couple of scores on the board before we do, they'll know, what they've seen against Leeds and what they've seen in the past, where they can come back. Now, looking at their home games, Bazza, on average, they score over all their home games this season 21 points. On average, they concede 25 points. So you're looking at where we're going to have to place ourselves in terms of the scoreline. We're going to have to go through, a good 4 or 5 tries, and counteract the fact that Castleford are probably going to score a few as well. So this is where, for me, Bazza, we talked about the defence. This is where it really needs to stand up, as dastardly it sounds, because, like you said, I know Warrington went and in the end put a big scoreline on, but that didn't look like it was coming for a good couple of two-thirds of the game, did it? So, we've got to be on the mettle. I'm sure there will be.
I think what's concerning in this game is that there's going to be a couple of players in there wanting to get one over, their old club, and Jack Brown, George Lawler, PLT, they've got a point to prove, and PLT on his debut for Castleford against us at our place, he had an absolute mare, and I can see PLT wanting to put a few wrongs right, and then you throw into the mix of Jordan Lane with his affiliation with Hull FC, wanting to get one over us. So I'm expecting an extra 10% from them certain individuals to really want to put a number on us, and that's what makes them dangerous going into this game. But again, if we just keep our heads, I think we'll be fine, mate. I think they'll get rattled way before us, and that first 10 minutes for me going into that is crucial. Silence the crowd, frustrate them, and what we've seen Castleford time and time again, when they get frustrated, that's where they fall apart. And I think if we can frustrate them in that 10-15 minutes, I think we'll be sweet.
Yeah, the good news is that James Batchelor and Sam Luckley, who were charged for late contacts. Batchelor got a grade A charge. Sam Luckley got a grade B. They've got points. Sam Luckley's got a fine as well, but they'll be free to play. Sue, we're not quite sure what's going to happen yet, are we? Because as we record this, we don't know the squad. We know that Arthur Morgan and Mikey Lewis won't be playing. But Ryan Hampshire, like we said, will be better for another game under his belt. So he'll be going into that game full of confidence, no doubt. Hey, look, mate, our best game is better than their best game for me.
Yeah.
If we play to our potential, then we should have enough. If we get it drawn into a stop-start, patchy game, come up with errors in daft places, miss your tackle, it's going to be a difficult night. I still think that they're good enough and they should come away with a victory, but there's no doubt whatsoever that we cannot take this side lightly. But I've got full faith in the boys that they will come away with the points. On a side note, Bazza, I took in York v St Helens on Saturday, and what a game that was for a neutral. Absolutely fantastic. And when we look at them playoff spots now, do you think that the top six is sewn up? I mean, we saw Saints obviously defeated against York. They're still only 2 points behind Lee, but when you look at their running and who they've got to face, and of course we faced them in the final game of the regular round of fixtures, it's nothing's to give me, but you would look at it with Saints sacking Paul Rowley, that they seem to be doing it a bit tough. Do you think the top six is sewn up, or do you think Saints have still got a chance of getting in there?
I'm 99% confident that the top six is as it is. In what order, I don't know. I don't see Saints getting back into it. And I'm going to open myself up to a lot of pelters here. But if Saints was to force the way back in, I think it'd be at the expense of us. Out of who's in that top
so you think we're the ones who could fall by the wayside?
That's only based on what I've seen this year, and I don't, I know we've got so much more. The only thing that's concerning me is we can go really high, but when we go low, mate, we go low this year, and that's my only concern. I'm pretty certain it won't happen, but if Saints are to find some form and creep back in, I think out of the six that's in there, I think we'd look the most vulnerable, if that makes sense, because who else would you see dropping out? Because Lee have found some great form. Warrington are still picking up the wins. Wakefield are unstoppable. Wigan, they're not going to drop out, and obviously Leeds are top of the shop. So I think out of the top six, I think we're in the least best form. But having said that, I just can't see Saints making it. Obviously, I think they'll do a number over that lot on Thursday, but I think overall, I think Saints, they've got 18 players out there. I can't see them making that six. So for me, I'm 99% certain that as it stands, this is the top six. In what order, I don't know.
Right, so that brings us to question time. Kev Verity, he says, what incomings are we expecting? Any rumours? And have we done the new manager a favour or hindered him by not playing, having much cap space for new players? Even recently, the latest name was Alex Mellor, wasn't it, from Castleford? I think that's been shut down pretty quickly. But we are in the market for a back row, aren't we? I mean, Reece Martin's obviously departing to take up a role with the Papua New Guinea Chiefs down in the NRL. So you'd imagine there's a space there to fill. The cap's a funny game, isn't it? We don't know what money there is to play with, so it's really hard to pitch yourself in terms of what kind of play that we'll be going for.
It is, and with regards to whispers, mate, there's always whispers, always Rovers linked with. For me right now, I've heard one, but it's not worth repeating. The cap is killing us at the minute. I think we are pretty much at cap, and I think what's delaying any club, not just Hull Kingston Rovers, from signing is this potential takeover with the NRL, this investment, whatever it is, how much they're going to pump in. If every club's going to get that bit more money, I think that's stopping a lot of clubs from potentially signing players, because there was whispers of upping the salary cap. But as it stands now, I don't know, mate. But you need to remember we've signed the likes of Tom Whitehead and that they're for the future. So who's to say Tom Whitehead won't get his opportunity in 2027? We've signed a few young lads this year for the future, and maybe that's why we're a little bit quiet in the market right now.
Yeah, I mean, don't get Junior Sambo, who's at witness, season long, as soon as his signing has gone out. So there's players within the camp who may be able to step in and fill that role, and maybe that is a route they're going to go down. In terms of hindering Nathan Case, there's no doubt, is he, that he would like some wiggle room in there. I do think, though, that the club have probably anticipated the proposed new TV deal, which we don't know what it is, so clubs don't know what money they're going to play with, and also the potential NRL investment into the game, which seems to be being talked about forever. So I can understand why Rovers have maybe tied down some players to give them a bit of stability, rather than looking at some of the clubs who are in desperate measures now, who are scrambling round to try and freshen up a squad, change a squad, bring new players in. And, look, let's see what happens. Let's see whether that works or not. Whether Salso still going round for another season, Petr Hickle going round again, whether that'll play dividends. But I can understand why they've maybe just stabilised the club, and there may still be one or more players coming in. And I expect Kayleigh to bring at least a couple of players in. Who knows? We don't know, do we? It's only us guessing. So it'd be really interesting to see how that pans out. Paula Richardson, Bazza, she says about the game against Bradford, did Hull KR play with the intensity and standards of a genuine trophy-winning side, or did they just do enough because of the opposition?
I don't think they just did enough. I think it's sad, mate. We've got players out. I don't think we're full of confidence right now. I think, potentially we did do enough. The intensity was better. It wasn't where it needs to be. It wasn't the greatest game, but it was job done. And ultimately, that's all that matters. And hopefully performances will come when it's needed.
Yeah, short answer for this one, Bazza. Matty Baxter says, was Friday's game against Bradford Jez Litton's best game of the season?
No. It was good. And we are noticing Jez more because he's stepping up in place of Mikey. But no. I thought Jez was immense in the semi-final against Warrington.
Yeah, Glenn Cornforth, he says, Tom Amon showed how a top-class prop should play versus FC. And not forgetting Dino versus Bradford. We need to spread that aggressive play around the rest of the pack. Wow, that would really lift us. Even take us back to 2025. It's really hard, isn't it? Because I think the aggression is there, but we've got different props for different times of the game, haven't we? We can't have 4 Tom Amones out there. It wouldn't work. So you need to have that versatility. I can understand, though, when someone like Tom Amon does come in with them big performances, he's very pleasing in the eye, isn't he? And that's where sometimes we all gravitate in terms of we want more of that. But in reality, not everyone can be that Tom Amon player. Tom Amon needs players around him to be able to give him the opportunity to do them minutes and play like he does.
Yeah, that's fair enough, Johno. We do need a little bit more aggressiveness in certain areas, but I think it's how they execute that. When they're being aggressive, sometimes they're not executing it very well. But I think it is there, the aggressiveness. So yeah. Yeah,
Nick Sims, he says, what's going on with the atmosphere at home this season? Place was like a library, and despite the scoreline, fans were leaving in droves from the 70-minute mark. I must admit, when Bradford scored, Andy Ackers, I can't believe how many people said, I thought we'd scored. Not Bradford. Look, I know it's we're in a different era now, aren't we? It's different, which is sad because we was all the support is there. Let's be honest, the support is there. And when the boys need that support is there, but you can't deny at certain points during certain games, it does feel a little bit flat, and fans are waiting for things to happen rather than trying to help the team make things happen.
Yeah, and I've noticed it. The atmosphere seems a lot more flat, depending on who we're playing. If we're playing Bradford or York, it doesn't seem to have that partisan atmosphere. When we play a bigger club, with no disrespect, and it's a real tussle of a game. the crowd really is involved. I think the loudest I've heard the crowd was bloody against Wakefield, and it was more giving Kendall shit, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think it's just based on our opponent, whoever we're playing. But I love it when it's bouncing, and yeah, there's flat spots, but it don't matter if you're playing Bradford or bloody Brisbane. The boys need you be at them from minute 1 to minute 80, and that's just my beliefs anyway.
Yeah, Julie Rodman, she says, do you think Jack Broadbent will have one of his best games against his former club, Castleford, on Friday? I very much hope he does. There's no doubt that he can produce absolute magic, but as we saw against Bradford, he does have an error in him, so hopefully he cuts that out against Castleford, and there's no doubt whatsoever he will have a really positive influence. And Gary Lee, we'll finish with your question. Of course, regular on the Robin Pod. Challenge Cup final, 4th or 5th in the league, in the playoffs again, with a chance of winning the whole thing. That's good, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know if it is.
I love Gary. He tends to wear them rose-tinted glasses, and he likes to see the best in things, and, you know, that's fine. I'd be happy, as daft as it sounds, yeah, Wembley final, we've done Brisbane, we're currently sat in 5th. I'd be content with that if the performances was there. I think because we've looked so frail, I think we're being a bit, well, me personally, I'm being a little bit pessimistic right now. So if we had more convincing performances, maybe I would be happier. But hey, Gary's right, mate. We've still got it all to play for, and you know the boys have got a lot to do in these last 6 games.
Yeah, and the only reason I question it, whether it's good enough or not, is it was Paul Lakin, it was Willie Peters who talks about building a dynasty. It was talking about 1's good, 2's good, 3's good. Hey, what we're going to do next season? Build on that, go again, win again. That's what a real legacy is. So that didn't come from us as supporters. That came from people within the club who set their stall out high about what they wanted to achieve. So, hey, it'd be really interesting, like at the end of the season when you do a debrief for whatever we achieve, which we still have very much great opportunities to go on and achieve something, which I think it's well within our grasp to do. But when the debrief, it'll be people above us, maybe who says, you know, whether it was a successful season or not. So that's all in front of us. But I felt, Bazza, it sounded like a bit of a negative Robin Pod actually on the back of a victory over Bradford. But I don't know, it just feels like a bit of a realism about where they need to improve. But it's all in front of them.
Maybe that's down to me. You know, obviously I'll always back the boys. I'll always cheer the boys on. But maybe it's just me and my personality.
No, because I feel like I've been like
wanted a little bit more.
But you know, it's there. It's not. You know, we offer our opinion, but also we're not daft. You know, and you know, a lot of people agree with us. A lot of people don't agree with us. But it's just what we see, and some of the stats back that up.
I think we know what our players are capable of, and they're not showing it that at the moment. And for me, I'm not shying away from the truth, and we've got to be better. If we are going to be genuine title contenders, we have to be better. You know, if we end up finishing 5th, 4th, we're nothing. It's still been a decent season. We've beat Brisbane, but on the whole, performances aren't been great. They haven't been good enough, and that's that. More to build on.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who's tuned in on YouTube, who's listened on the podcast. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Bazza. Don't forget to let us know how old you think he is. The Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Autocentre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of the world-famous Hull Kingston Rovers. If you're going to the game on Friday, make sure you are loud and proud. But for now, live, love, laugh and be happy.
Is the Robin Pod. Robin Pod. This is the Robin Pod. Whoa. Throughout the years, whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same. Decades pass, now we rise anew. Rovers fans, this pod is for you. We won the cup. Grand final win made us all believe. The world took note with Brisbane's fall. The Robins superb, now we won it all. Red Army, let's hear you sing with all your might. For your world champions in the red and white. We are okay, and we are the champions of the world.